Recently, Verizon had to use tiny red balls to try to make you think they had a much better network than Sprint. But there's one big thing they left out. The new Sprint LTE Plus network delivers faster download speeds than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. That's because we've been obsessed with building the network of the future. Switch to the new Sprint LTE Plus network and we'll even cover your cost to switch up to $650 per line. Only from Sprint. Better for less.
Claim based on Sprint's analysis of average LTE download speeds using Nielsen and MP data. Speeds may vary. Restrictions apply. Buyout via reward card with valid port-in after online registration and phone turn-in.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Excuse me. Also, check us out on Facebook. You can check out my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can check out the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our site, www.the110nation.com, or check out our blog site over at www.the110nationsports.com for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. I had to do it. And it's been a while since I've been able to accomplish this task, but I had to do it. Once upon a time, Tuesday night used to be the biggest night for the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. Between having Izzo in the house and we had Patrick Taylor over Line Blowers in the house, and we always seemed to have one other guest join us that night. Tuesday night was our premiere night on this network. And we kind of faded away from that a little bit, and I tell you what, the truth be told, Sunday nights, they're pretty something fierce now. But I had up the bar this week. I had to do something to make sure that Tuesday night gets back on the map. And between Miss Lee and myself, we was able to accomplish that. And with Izzo joining us tonight, we are going to make Tuesday night the number one night here at the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. And how are we doing that, you ask? Well, tonight we've got ARCA Series driver Gus Dean joining us. We got to hear a teeny tiny a preview of him when we had Tim Clegg on last night, the PR over at Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Tonight we get to learn a little bit more and go more in depth with Gus as he will be making his ARCA. He'll be making his ARCA. I'm trying to do 20 things here at once. Everybody's trying to chime in right before the show, but he'll be making his ARCA debut at Daytona for Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Very excited about having him on the show tonight. Very excited. We've had a great relationship with Mason Mitchell Motorsports, and more specifically Mason Mitchell. Kind of our joke here we talked about a little bit last night. We're kind of the good luck charm. We the week before the week before he won his first championship, back in the 2014 season, he was on the show, and then last year, right before Iowa and Kansas, he was on the show and turned around and ended up winning those races. That may be, I don't know. I'm not quite sure if it's got anything to do with it, but it might have part to why Mason Mitchell is joining us next Tuesday night here on the 110 Nation Sports Show. And I want to say next Tuesday night. I know he's going to be here next week. I'm trying to pull back through the messages now that I said Tuesday night. I want to make sure that it is Tuesday night. But we do got Tim coming back on the show. Yes, it's on next Tuesday. And so it says and L. I'm not sure what Miss Lee was trying to type here. But we will have Mason Mitchell joining us next Tuesday night as we get ready for Daytona. Maybe that's his way to make sure that he fares well, or the team fares well at Daytona. Either way, we will take it. We love having Mason Mitchell on the show. We've had a couple other of his drivers, at least Austin Wayne himself on the show as well. We've had Mason, like I said, 3 times. Looking forward to the opportunity to get to know and get to learn about the newest addition to Triple M over there, Gus Dean. And I know you're like, that's how you guys bring Tuesday night. You're talking about the number one night on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. And the only thing you're telling me about right now is you got an ARCA Series driver tonight and an ARCA Series driver next week. Oh, that's not all we got planned for you. At 10:30, we got Izzo joining us, our NHL expert. If you've not tuned in and listened to Izzo talk, one, if you're an hockey fan, you are really you're not doing yourself justice if you've not tuned in to 10:30 on Tuesday night to chime in to listen to Izzo break down the NHL for you. But tonight we've got Zach Boychuk, part of the Carolina Hurricanes, joining us at 10:30 tonight. Looking forward to listen to Izzo kind of pry into the life of Zach Boychuk and get to know about the first half of the season. What his opinions are on the All-Star, the new format, what the second half of the season is going to be looking like for him personally. Just a lot of different things that we're going to get the opportunity to know about that. So looking forward to that. And so it is really cool to be able to bring a couple of different aspects when it comes to guest-wise tonight, because usually we go one way, we stay that way, and tonight we get to be a little all over the place. So we're very excited about that opportunity tonight. Hoping the fans out there are loving the opportunity to be able to listen to us tonight. Don't forget you can catch us on multiple different platforms. You can catch us on Blog Talk Radio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes. Also catch us on the I-95 Sports Network. Yes, they replay our shows every Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. Yes, we get the lunch 2-hour window, and very, very appreciative of that. I love the fact that we get that window. And don't forget that we got the 110 Nation Morning Show every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. We got the 110 Nation Sports Show every Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. We got the return of Racing with Big Sweat. Supposed to be Thursday nights at 9 o'clock. That is kind of to be determined right now. And he's still recovering from his health. Not sure if he's going to be back this week or the following week. Sunday nights, 7 o'clock. Don't forget we got the Happy Hour Garage. And then 9 o'clock we got, on Sundays, we got the Dirt Talk Hour. That's what we're up against. What is quickly and rapidly becoming the hottest night, Sunday nights. That's what our Tuesday nights are competing with. 3 hours of nonstop race talk, and we got to step our game up here on the 110 Nation Sports Show. So make sure you guys check us out, do us a service. Spread the word. Let everybody know what's going on here at the 110 Nation. Hallelujah. The boycott is officially 100% ceased at this point. Not that there was much left of the boycott. I just happened to not be wearing much of my Cleveland Brown stuff. But we all know once upon a time I had a strict boycott. I did not wear anything Cleveland Browns. I did not watch anything Cleveland Browns. I had nothing to do that showed my support of the Cleveland Browns when this front office decided it was in their best interest to not only draft Johnny Manziel, but to actually move up in the draft, give some stuff away to get a player that nobody else wanted. there was no reason at any point for them to move up in the draft when nobody else even wanted Johnny Manziel. But the truth be told, yes, the word is out. March 9th, NFL begins their official new year. In the NFL schedule, that is when teams are allowed to start trading and making cuts and all that stuff. And Johnny Manziel, yes, the Cleveland Browns are sending you a packing. The Browns have finally decided they have had enough of the Johnny Manziel drama. As this weekend, once again, he found himself in the headlines for all the wrong things. Once again, could not leave his hands. Could not leave his hands off his girlfriend. And police, helicopters, everything else was involved in this fiasco here. So they've made a statement, and it is pretty much letting the world know that not only March 9th, when that day comes, we are done cutting our ways with Johnny Manziel, but sadly enough, also pretty much lets everybody know that nobody else is stupid enough to be like the Cleveland Browns and willing to give anything up to get Johnny Manziel. And so it is pretty much going to be a total loss at this point because nobody is willing to give anything to the Cleveland Browns. I think that I only seen one team show any interest, and I don't know how true those reports are with the Kansas City Chiefs. I just can't imagine, really, with all the drama that goes on with Johnny Manziel off the field, anybody willing to give anything up or waste any time on Johnny Manziel. I mean, it's just a bad, just a bad situation. It's just a bad virus. I don't even a mole. I guess I don't know how you really want to describe Johnny Manziel. There's nothing positive about Johnny Manziel. There's not enough positives to outweigh the negatives to make a team even want to risk or take a chance. I mean, why would anybody at this point want to even waste their time? Johnny Manziel once again found himself in the headlines over the weekend with the police investigating an incident between the quarterback and his ex-girlfriend, who had previous altercations with Manziel in Ohio in October. So Manziel was not arrested, and the Cleveland Browns have seen enough. The team sent Manziel a public message on Tuesday, one that sounds like a goodbye. Statement from the Cleveland Browns EVP of Football Operations, Sashi Brown, on Johnny Manziel. We've been clear about expectations for our players on and off the field. Johnny's continual involvement in incidents that run counter to those expectations undermines the hard work of his teammates and the reputation of our organization. His status with our team will be addressed when permitted by league rules. We will have no further comment at this time. Cleveland, don't act like it was a big surprise. I don't think that anybody that had any kind of common sense said, you know what, go ahead. Johnny Manziel is a great guy. He's got his head on his shoulders. He is a guy worth gambling on. I guarantee you, the only people that were ignorant enough to say anything is, one, a Texas A&M fan, or B, those that support the SEC through and through. Outside of that, I don't think that there was anybody out there that has any kind of, that does not smoke themselves retarded, has any positive things that come out of their mouth. Like I said, when they first drafted, there was the longest time I had a boycott. I wasn't watching no games. I wasn't wearing no Cleveland Browns jerseys, jackets, hats, nothing. I finally lifted the band a little bit and started wearing some of the stuff when he flipped off the Pittsburgh Steelers sideline. or it was either Pittsburgh Steelers or Washington Redskins. I can't remember which one at this point. Thought it was humorous, but never once have I supported Johnny Manziel, nor have I ever liked the fact that we wasted not only a draft pick, but we wasted giving up stuff to move up in a draft, like I said, for a player that nobody else clearly wanted. Everybody else had bypassed. Anybody that was even talking remotely close of drafting Johnny Manziel had already went through the draft to pick somebody else. Don't know why we, one, wasted a draft pick, but two, why we wasted even more to move up to get Johnny Manziel, knowing that he had all these off-the-field issues. It wasn't like this was just something out of the blue, like, wow, this guy was a role model student at Texas A&M, and all of a sudden, now he's just a problem, for this team. No, he had his issues in college. He was known for partying at college. He was known for doing stuff that he wasn't supposed to be doing. He was already cited for doing autographs and doing stuff against NCAA regulations. Just because of course the NCAA doesn't really do a lot of deep digging when it comes to the SEC. They don't want to tarnish the SEC brand. If it's the Big Ten, you know what, we're going to dig all day long. If it's the Pac-12, Big 12, anything else, WAC, MAC, any other conference, they're going to dig and get to the bottom of it. The SEC, they like to make sure that they don't tarnish the SEC name, even though we've seen the same thing with Cam Newton with his pay to play in Auburn. We all know what happened. The SEC knows what happened, but we're not going to dig no deeper than that. We don't need to tarnish the SEC. The same way with Johnny Manziel. So it's not like it was a big surprise here, Cleveland. It wasn't like you didn't know what you was already getting. You just, for some delusional reason, thought, you know what, we're notorious for wasting draft picks on worthless garbage quarterbacks. Let's make 2014, I believe. Let's make this year. Let's do it again. We've been known for it. I mean, Tim Couch, and we could go through the list of quarterbacks over the years and who they've signed and who they drafted, and it never amounted to anything. Let's do this one more time. Just for good old crapping giggles. You know what I'm trying to say. Trying to keep it PG-13. We got too many platforms with too many rules that so we can only use certain words, and we don't want to limit our viewership. So you know what I'm trying to say. Cleveland. Now we're back to square one. Now once again, we got to go through the whole process of finding another quarterback and drafting another. You honestly think if you think you got a quarterback on your staff now that is worth to anything, then you're sadly mistaken. And there's a reason why we have the number 2 draft pick and tied for the worst record in the NFL last year. That not that the defense helped out any, but that offense is horrendous. Yes, you had like 3 or 4 Pro Bowler offensive linemen. Yes, you had a tight end that was Pro Bowl, but that was it. You didn't really have anything on defense. As a matter of fact, I don't recall there being a single Cleveland Browns player on the defensive side of the ball, and we sure in the hell didn't have a running back, a wide receiver, or a quarterback at all in the Pro Bowl, and there's a reason why. When you got garbage back there that can't throw the ball, I mean, Josh McCown, are you was it who was the third? Austin Davis or whatever, the third string or whatever. You honestly think that any team is taking your threesome of quarterbacks serious? Like, honestly, do you honestly believe this? Because if you honestly believe that there was any team that took the threesome of quarterbacks that you put on that field last year serious and honestly thought that they were going to beat any lineup out there, Haslam needs to just go ahead and sign the team over, and they just need to clear out the whole front office and start fresh, new owner and new front office. If that's what they honestly believe, because there's not a single team out there that I honestly could say that was intimidated by what we had in the backfield. It would be the quarterback position, really, even the running back position. And it's a shame because you got a lot of great offensive linemen on that team. Obviously, a couple of them made, I want to say 3 of them, but at least 2 made the Pro Bowl. Great tight end advantage. And the best you had to offer was that trio of garbage. And now here we go once again. And it's sad because there's a possibility we'll get Josh Gordon back, and who knows if the NFL is even going to waste their time in restating him so he can get suspended, banned for life this time. But if he can get off the weed and be back to playing like he was, yes, we'll have the number 1 wide receiver again. Then you add that to Benjamin, Terrell Pryor starting to play the level he was playing. We got a wide receiver core that can, with Barnage as a tight end, we could be a very deadly team as long as all we had to do was add a piece. You know, I could deal with Cornell back there as the running back position, not the greatest, but maybe we get something in the free agency that complements that, put you a great quarterback back there. We could have an explosive offense, but now you've got to redraft the quarterback position, so you're restarting over. Odds are Cleveland will go get a worthless, washed-up backup quarterback from some other team and try to make them the next best thing. And that'll be a failed project halfway through the season, and then we'll eventually see the quarterback, whatever quarterback they decide to draft. And then now the focus is on that and whether or not you're going to stick with your current running back situation or if you're going to improve on that. Then you focus on the defense, unfortunately. The defense that once upon a time was a top 5 defense that was great. We just couldn't put no points on the board. There was a lot of games we were losing like 9-6, 7-3, 10-3, whatever the case may be, because defensively they were shutting teams down. Just offensively, we couldn't put more than 3 points or 6 points on the board. And so now a lot of those pieces have gone on, either for personal reasons, more money reasons, or we just didn't re-sign. And so now we're still in the process of now having to rebuild that defense. So what was once upon a time a great defense and a few pieces short of the offensively of being a competitive team, there was once upon a time we was almost halfway through the season and we were on top of the AFC North. And it was only a couple years ago. How quickly everything changed when you started making stupid draft choices such as Johnny Manziel and wasting draft picks on Trent Richardson and everything else. Now we're still basically back where we were about 4 years ago in a whole rebuilding process because you've wasted 3 or 4 years of draft picks, and what draft picks you did get that were good, either they don't want to be re-signed or they wanted more money or whatever the case would be, and we lost those pieces. So, of course, once again, here we are, Browns fans, and once again, there's always next season, and the season after that, or the season after that. Honestly, at this point, maybe 2020 we might be. I think I can see. I think I can see 2020. Yes, I know. I stretched it for that one, but being a Browns fan, you gotta chuckle it off. I mean, it sucks. It really sucks because there's a lot of there's a lot of great pieces coming out in this draft, especially defensively. That could really help put our team in an ideal situation. But instead, now Cleveland has got to rebuild that offense before they can even worry about focusing on the defense. And also making headlines today. Colin Kaepernick wants to go play for the New York Jets. I don't know why all the teams he picks the New York Jets, but he wants to go play for the New York Jets. He wants to help destroy the Jets like he destroyed the 49ers with the crap that he put, the performance, if you want to call it a performance, but the garbage he put on the field. And that ought to be interesting. I text a really good friend of mine, as a matter of fact, my best friend, diehard 49ers fan, And I'm waiting for a reply, but I don't know if he had caught wind of it yet. But I informed him that Colin Kaepernick wanted to go ruin the Jets now, and I don't think he still got faith in Kaepernick. I didn't have faith in Kaepernick from the very get-go. As a matter of fact, I'm not saying that Alex Smith was a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think he would have probably won before Kaepernick would have won. I told everybody that Kaepernick was going to cost the 49ers a Super Bowl, and the timeouts that he wasted and the interception that he threw that ultimately cost the 49ers the Super Bowl. And every year since then, he's just gotten worse and worse and worse. But my friend does not see it the same way. He's all in on some Kaepernick. I don't know. I know that Blaine Gabbert is not the answer, but it is at least a step up from the Colin Kaepernick project. We'll at least go with that. But that ought to be interesting, especially with the Jets with the 20th pick. I want to run through some of these real quick as we got Gus joining us here in about the next 3 minutes. So I don't want to jump into too many other topics. But, of course, the number one draft pick is going to go to the Tennessee Titans. That'll be fun to watch and see what they can do to complement Marcus Mariota and what they have going on over there in Tennessee. Of course, Cleveland Browns with the number 2 pick. San Diego Chargers with the number 3 pick. Staying in San Diego at least one more year. Expect big crowds. I expect big support for the Chargers in order to hope that the front office sees that they need to go ahead and keep their team there after, 54, 55 years at this point. Dallas Cowboys, the number 4 pick. Obviously, quarterback has got to be one of the things on their mind. I know there's a lot of rumors on whether RG3 or Johnny Manziel will find themselves at Dallas. I think if anybody is stupid enough to give Johnny another shot is Jerry Jones. So it will be interesting which route he goes. If he drafts another quarterback to eventually replace, not succeed, I guess, Tony Romo. I wouldn't say replace. We know Tony, that's his job until the day he retires. Jacksonville, the number 5 pick, a lot of bright sides. Robinson, got to watch him in the Pro Bowl. Of course, Blake Bortles. Obviously, they're a couple pieces away from actually getting out of the bottom of the AFC South, but not quite at the bottom because Tennessee obviously finished worse than them. Baltimore, the 6th pick, Stephen Smith Sr. returning. Obviously, some weapons there. They obviously need to improve a little bit. 49ers, opportunity maybe to draft a quarterback. Not quite sure where they're going to go with that. Miami, the 8th pick. After the season we saw Tannehill, there's going to be a lot of questions on which direction Miami needs to go. Tampa Bay, the 9th pick, and the Giants, the 10th. Other notables that I find interesting, 13th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles. 14th pick, the Oakland Raiders. I think that'll be a fun pick, especially as much as that team has improved. I've done said that I think offensively and defensively, I think they're about 2 to 3 pieces on each side of the ball at this point. Originally 1 to 2, but there's been some pieces to retire. Woodson, Justin Tuck. Offensively, I'm sure we're going to see some pieces leave that organization as well. So I would say maybe 1 to 2 offensively, 2 or 3 on defense, and this team could be a contending team. Los Angeles Rams, quarterback situation. I'm sorry, Nick Foles is not the answer. Atlanta, the 17th pick. Let's see who else is there. Cincinnati, 24 picks. Steelers, 25th pick. Seattle, 26. Those are amongst some of the notables there for this year's draft. Definitely excited about the season coming up. Definitely looking forward to seeing what direction a lot of these teams go towards. We got an opportunity in this crazy season to kind of see, see the unexpected. I mean, we started off the season watching Geno Smith break his hand and watching Ryan Fitzpatrick get the opportunity to actually improve the quarterback position for the New York Jets, but then lead the Jets to the playoffs, which were just short of the playoffs. Buffalo kind of screwed them out of that. But they would have not even been in the discussion in the playoffs if Geno Smith would have continued to be the quarterback. So there's a lot of teams, Colin Kaepernick being benched and Blaine Gabbert coming in, Cleveland Browns and their threesome of trios. We watched Levy Smith get fired at Tampa Bay. There's a lot of things that are setting this season up, this off season up to be a very interesting one. I mean, hell, we watched Carolina lose just one game this year. Who would ever, especially when Benjamin went down at the end of the season, who ever would have thought that the Carolina Panthers not only would only lose one game all year, but would be sitting in the Super Bowl right now. And then, I mean, Denver, the other team. I mean, we watched Peyton Manning have a horrendous first part of the season. As a matter of fact, he got benched after having a 0.0 passer rating, and then comes back in the last game and a half, and has been able to help take the Denver Broncos to the Super Bowl. So definitely excited about this offseason, especially since I got the opportunity to watch the Senior Bowl. Definitely looking forward towards the Combine and the draft coming up. And I know, like I said last night, it's crazy to say that even though we still got the Super Bowl to go, but it's just like, and Gus, we're getting ready to get you on here. Gus can testify to the same thing. I mean, we're saying the same thing when the racing season ends in November. We're already ready and looking at the big picture in January and February, even though we're not even done with the season. And it's just that quickly. Off season, there's really not much of an off season. It don't matter what sport you're in. There is always something going on. And football season and the NFL is really no different, and definitely looking forward to it. But we got Gus Dean in the studio. He's making his debut at Daytona, in the ARCA Series at Daytona for Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Like I said, we had Tim Clegg on last night. We've had Mason on it 3 times already this year. We got him coming next week. Definitely excited about the 2016 season, especially the ARCA Series. ARCA Series, we've had so many of the drivers on. I think we had almost all the top 10 on last year. Great class, a great series to watch. NBC has really stepped it up and has made this even more accessible for the race fans, not only to watch this series, but to be able to really fall in love with this series, start backing these drivers at this early stage. And as a matter of fact, it's really starting now in the K&N Pro Series with the NBC, and now the fan bases are starting to grow for these young, talented drivers, so that by the time they hit the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, they already have a huge following, and it is helping these drivers get the recognition, the sponsorship, and everything that they need to be successful. One, got to tip my hat to NBC, got to tip your hat to ARCA Series for continuously improving this series as well. And then you also got to tip your hat to the young, talented drivers that fill this series, such as Gus. And without any further delay, let's go ahead and bring him on the show. Gus, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank y'all for having me on.
The pleasure is definitely ours. Love having the young, talented future of the NASCAR on the show. Before we jump into this, what we like to do is we like to give you guys an opportunity to plug yourself. Social media, if it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case may be. Also, any websites, team site, your personal site, anything like that. And then, of course, any sponsors you want to thank before we jump into this.
Yes, sir. Well, we actually just brought Carrier Home Comfort Systems on as a primary sponsor, so a huge thanks to those guys. They build awesome equipment, and we're really excited to be racing with them. And also Cab Installers, who's going to be helping us out down there in Daytona. But big thanks to those. You can get those links to either one of those guys on my website, which is gusdean.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at @GusDean. Facebook is just Gus Dean, and on Instagram is @GusDean as well.
Now, I had the opportunity in 2011 to experience my first Daytona 500. One of the most historic tracks in this sports history. And to me, the Daytona 500 and Bristol run neck to neck. Bristol Saturday night, to me, is just as important in my book of racetracks as the Daytona 500. But Daytona 500 is the most prestigious track, or Daytona itself. And I know what it felt and what it meant to me as a fan to be able to have the opportunity to visit Daytona. And since then, I visited 2 more times. I love that track, and I have family down there. As a driver, what is this going to be like for you to have the opportunity to not only be at Daytona, but get to race at Daytona?
Well, it's an indescribable feeling. It really is. Me as well as many other drivers. the dream that we worked towards our whole career. It seems like a long way back that we were racing go-karts against one another and just looking at Daytona as a dream, and now coming up the 13th, it'll be here. So that feeling is very surreal. Just very thankful for everyone involved that is going to give me the opportunity to get out there. Daytona is just such a historic track. You can't go through the gates without thinking about all the legends that have been around that track themselves. And to think that you're going to be, on that list of people who have raced around that super speedway is just it's an incredible feeling. I'm very excited.
Now, we had one of the other drivers on. I don't know if you had an opportunity to talk to him while he was down there for testing. We had Dylan Martin on. I think he was 14th fastest or whatever. And I know you guys did much better. If I'm not mistaken, if I recall what Tim said, you were second quickest down there?
Yes, sir. We were first quickest on Saturday, and then after Boss Man Mitchell got in the car, we fell back to second for the overall weekend. But for that being my first time on a super speedway or in the draft for that matter, I was very, very happy with the results. Mason Mitchell Motorsports is a top-notch team, and I think it showed in all three of the cars with all four of the drivers. So just very excited to be a part of that group going into Daytona. Very comfortable, and especially after that test, feeling a lot more confident about the race.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. How much does that help your confidence, knowing that you were that quick out there and just testing to go into the first race of the season, knowing what kind of horsepower you got underneath there, knowing what kind of cars Triple M is building? How confident does that make you feel going into the first race of the season?
It definitely boosted my confidence. It really got rid of the unknowns as far as what to expect from the car, what to expect from the track. It's so different from anything I've ever raced before because it's just so big that there was a little bit of nervousness going in about what was going to happen once I was out there, what was going to happen in the draft. But now that I've gotten all those out, now it's just the unknowns of the race, and any race is it's the same that any race is ever going to be. So, very, very appreciative of Mason and them of helping me get through that nervousness and giving me advice. And it just, I think it showed out there on the track. Very excited to come back.
Now, I know that when we were talking to Dylan, he was one that never used to being up to that kind of speed. I think he said he did average 186 or something like that. One, have you ever traveled that kind of speed on a racetrack before? If not, how different was it for you to be at those speeds? And then he also talked about being in a pack, because he never had really been in a pack like that before with the whole drafting. For you, how was that? Was it nerve-wracking? And how much in the back of your mind was it that you were worried about making any mistakes and ruining anybody else's weekend?
Well, you worry about that kind of thing when you're in the pits and you're waiting to go out. You get very anxious. You get the butterflies. But once you go out there, you really don't have time to worry about those smaller things. So you try to just put them out of your mind and concentrate on what you have to do. The draft was very different. I figured bump drafting you'd be able to suck right up to the car in front of you, but that's actually not the case. There's almost a pocket in front of the car, and you have to really know what you're doing to get through that pocket. And so, things like that, they were a big surprise to me. It was definitely the fastest I've ever been in a race car. I think the largest track I had been on prior to that was Memphis International Speedway, which is not that big at all. So, going out there at those speeds, it really didn't feel actually much faster than any other time until you tried to slow down. And then when you try to slow down, you realize just how fast you're going.
What was the banking like for you? Have you ever been on a track that was banked that hard, at that angle?
I haven't. It was a weird feeling going through the corner because you're used to the G-force pushing you over to the right-hand side of the car. Mm-hmm. But with that sort of banking, you're so tilted that the G-force actually pushes you down into the seat. So that was a little bit different feeling. And also the wall when we run the high lines through the corners. The first lap I made, I wasn't really expecting that wall to grab you the way it does, but you have to anticipate it going in because it almost grabs the car and pulls you up a couple feet. And if you're already, a few inches from the wall, you don't really have much room to correct. So, things like that took some getting used to. But once we did, I felt very comfortable in the car and tried to lay down the best lap I could.
Now, are you running a full season this year, or is it going to be a partial season for you?
Well, it's going to be a partial season for us for right now. Daytona is the only one we have on the books. We'll be running full season of super late models and some K&N races. But it's all, just like any other team, it's all sponsor dependent. If we can land a solid sponsor for the year, then we'll go as high as they'll let us. Just really looking into that, hopefully build this relationship with the people at Carrier and see where it'll take us. Hopefully we can do a good job for them down there in Daytona. But sponsor willing, we'd love to run a full season, if not a few more races.
Now, we have this running joke going on here at the 110 Nation because we had Mason on the week before he won his championship 2 seasons ago, and then last year we had him on the week leading up to the Iowa win and Kansas win. It seems like we had Austin Wayne stuff in there right around his win as well. So we talk about constantly being the good luck charm for Triple M. So we're hoping between you coming on and we got Mason next week that one of y'all, either the company or you or the team or whatever is able to help produce a win. It's a running joke between us and Mason. But speaking of Mason, we got him on a couple of years ago, and like I said, right before he won the championship, and to see this team grow and to see the things that's been accomplished there, and knowing last year he had the youngest team owner driver combination in the whole ARCA Series, does it make it a little bit easier for you to have such a young owner? I would visualize it being a little bit easier because you could relate to Mason a little bit easier than maybe, someone such as Roger Penske or Rick Hendrick, or, I'm just throwing out names. But to me, it would just seem like, the age closeness would make it a little bit easier and help him be able to help you two be able to relate to each other a little bit better to kind of ease this whole transition for you.
It is. It is so in the fact that it wasn't that long ago that Mason was where I am now. So it's very easy for him to relate and very easy for me to relate to him. He did an awesome job at helping me when I had questions or when I was struggling. He helped me fix it right away, and it was just such a privilege to be able to have a champion in ARCA coach you through when you struggled. So it is a lot easier to relate with someone who, can climb in the car right after you and feel exactly what you're feeling and not just have to go off what you say. So, when they can get in there and feel that, that is what you're feeling, that builds that trust between the two of you. And for him to be a car owner as well, that really helps the situation, in my opinion.
Now, a little bit about your past. You got into go-kart racing when you was 6 years old. And I like to joke with the drivers with this because, I have a biological kid of my own. It's 9 years old. I have a daughter that I've been raising, and it's a relationship 2 years ago that's done over with. But I still, I'm still involved with her life. And then in my current relationship, I have a 4 and a 5 year old, and that I help take care of. And I cannot imagine any of them at age 6. I couldn't imagine any of them at age 10, 12 years old. They all tripping over their feet and running into walls and everything else. I cannot imagine them being in go-karts. I would fear for their safety. What was it like growing up and having this kind of opportunity to start your career at 6 years old?
Well, it's something that me and my father talk about a lot. When you have racing in your life, and we're gone every weekend from the time I was 6 years old, and I'm going on 22. It's the memories and the times that I've spent with my family going through this career are absolutely priceless to me. it is hard at sometimes, when, a lot of your friends are going off on the weekend and stuff like that, and you're never home. You don't make a lot of friends. But when that green flag drops, it makes everything that you have to do for your racing career 100% worth it and then some. So, it kept me out of trouble. It built the relationship up between me and my dad, and my grandfather. And it's something that I thank the Lord for every day, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Now, what was school life like for you? I know how hectic it was for me, and I didn't have all this extra stuff going on. I went to school, and I had ROTC, and I had a job when I was 16, and that was like, and I thought that was a hectic life. I couldn't imagine the testing and the constant traveling every weekend and everything, the working on the cars. What was it like going through school, and did you do a traditional school, or did you end up doing homeschooling?
Well, we did do traditional school, all 12 years or all 12 grades of lower school. It was very hard. There was a lot of Mondays where, we got in that night before at 4 a.m. From a race, and I was out of days that I go up and go to school and off an hour and a half of sleep, that's not that bad for a 21-year-old, but, when I was 8, that was a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
But that was the main battle was days missed because of racing. Because a lot of times you have practice or even races on Thursday and Friday, and in public school they let you miss 10 days a year. With a full race schedule on your plate, you can blow through that 10 days a year before Thanksgiving. So you really have to. A lot of long nights driving back when you'd rather just stay there at the track. A lot of early mornings when you had no sleep. I was lucky enough to go to Benedictine Military School in Savannah, and they were very supportive of my career. So they worked with me on the 10 days a year thing and excused me when I needed to go racing, as long as I kept up my grades. Which keeping up your grades on the road is easier said than done.
Yeah.
But it was a struggle, but in the end, it was definitely worth it.
Now, most of these series that I when I looked at your bio, I recognize, or we've talked about before. One of them that sticks out that I am clueless about, and is probably very something civil, just called this series, and once you explain it, I'll probably understand exactly what you're talking about. But what exactly is the X1R Pro Cup Series?
That was the former Hooters Pro Cup Series that a lot of people are familiar with. After Hooters jumped ship with the series, it kind of fell off, and then it started to kind of make a comeback. It's actually now known as the Cars Tour Series, which is a super late model series. Back when it was the X1R Pro Cup, it was still the old Pro Cup cars, which is pretty much the identical car to a K&N car, a little bit different here and there, but the same concept, big, heavy car, and that's where a lot of people know them from, is from the Hooters Pro Cup, and it was an effort to revamp that series. Unfortunately, they weren't really able to do it, but Mr. Jack McNally and them did an excellent job for the teams and the drivers during that time, and they're doing a great job now for the Cars Tour Series in the super late models, which is actually I'm a racer, a full-time racer in the Cars Tour Series. So that was a lot of fun, and it taught me a lot about big cars. I hated to see that series go.
Now, with all the different types of cars you've been in, I got two different directions with this question. One, what has been the easiest? What came when you jumped in that car felt the most natural for you, and which is the easiest for you to, I'm not going to say master, but be very successful in? And then with the opposite, which car did you jump in and it just took you either a while to get the hang of it, it just never felt natural or felt comfortable, or maybe you just never got it really down and you end up leaving that series or that type of car?
Well, I've always felt better in a bigger car, such as a Pro Cup car, a K&N car, even an ARCA car. They all feel very similar. And I've always felt more comfortable in a bigger car. I feel more control behind the wheel of a bigger car, more finesse. The cars that took the longest to get used to were actually the super late models. And I still think I have a lot to learn in the super late models. They're very out of control, and that finesse that you have, that you learn in go-karts and carry through to bigger cars about, being really smooth with the wheel and anticipating what you need to do. You still have to do those things in a super late model, but it's more so an out of control drive, especially in qualifying with those supers. So that's taken me a long time. It was a huge learning curve when I got into supers, but I feel like I'm getting the hang of it. And Petey Hennison, my crew chief for the supers, he does an excellent job helping me with that and supplying me with excellent race cars. I still feel like I have a lot to learn, but I feel like we're gaining on it very soon, and I think the season's going to be a very good season for our super late model program.
The same with this. It's a two-part question. One, what is the biggest accomplishment or the biggest thing so far in your career you've been the proudest about? And then, just like the other one, what is maybe the most embarrassing moment you had on the track? Like you just had one of those brain fart moments. You were just like, why did I just do that? Kind of situation.
Well, 3 instances stand out in my mind for what I'm most proud of. We ended up winning the 2007 national championship in go-karts. And I had won state championships before that, but, winning that national championship and having that title for first in the country that was an awesome deal for us. And then once we moved up into legacy cars, I captured the win at the famous North Wilkesboro Speedway at the inaugural race, and I got to ride the elevator at North Wilkesboro. And actually, the first person to ride that elevator before me was Jeff Gordon in 1994. So I was the first one in all those years to be able to travel up that elevator into victory lane. And that was a very special deal for us, as well as the Pro Cup victory we had at Memphis International Speedway. That was just a lot of fun. That was an awesome weekend. We got to go down on Beale Street afterwards and celebrate with the team. It felt good to do so well at a bigger track like that.
Now, an embarrassing moment or a moment that you wish you could have back.
That would probably, I have a few of those. Probably the most embarrassing. Yes, sir. Probably the most embarrassing would be we unloaded our Allison Legacy car when I was just getting into that series, fresh out of go-karts. And I noticed a small puddle of oil underneath the car, and I mentioned something to Dad, and he told me to get it. And once we got everything unloaded, of course, I got to thinking about the track and thinking about practice and the driver's meeting and completely forgot about that little puddle of oil. And it only took us about 6 or 7 laps before we ended up blowing up the motor and had to stay up all night that night changing the motor. Needless to say, he was agitated with me. So that was probably my most embarrassing moment. But like I say, I've probably got quite a few more.
I see on the website number 56. I'm just curious. I ask every driver when I see their number, is 56 just a number you guys happen to have, or is there a significant reason behind the number 56?
Well, when I raced go-karts, I was number 44 because that was the number that my dad was. And when we left go-karts in 2007, or after the 2007 championship, we went to Allison Legacy cars. Well, 44 was already taken. So we were thinking about another number to be, and it ended up being 56 because a big hero of mine through go-karts and race cars and a lot of racing was Ron Moon out of Indianapolis. He always ran the 56 when he ran go-karts with us, as well as a good family friend of ours, AJ Frank, was 56 for a long time. So we decided to go with 56. It was kind of going to be a temporary deal. And I actually have to give my mom credit on keeping the 56 because it didn't take long for her to have monogrammed everything 56 and, shirts and hats and koozies. And by that time, neither me nor Dad wanted to tell her that we were going to go back to 44. So we just kept it 56, and I've had a lot of fun with the number, and I'm happy with it now.
And we'll take a moment and get off the track before we get you off the show and let the fans kind of know you more on a personal level. What does Gus do on his time off? What do you do to kind of recharge the batteries? A day where you got your choice to do something, maybe midweek or something, to kind of recharge yourself and clear your mind. And then also, what do you do on the off weekend? Are you a hunter, a fisher? What is your choice for the weekend? You actually get a weekend off.
Well, I do have a full-time college schedule, and then as soon as I get out of school on the weekdays, I go to the shop till 5 and get as much time as I can in there. But when I get that time off, I do like to hunt and fish a lot. I also like to ride my motorcycle a lot. We a lot of times we'll go to the farm or the mountains or something like that. But other than that, when you spend every weekend of your life on the road, sometimes the last thing you want to do is go anywhere but your couch. So that's probably the best way for me to recharge is, go see a movie with my friends or girlfriend or, just hang out around Mooresville. I really love it up here, because it's everything to do with racing, no matter where you go. So just really hanging out, and I'll come to the shop and work on, little toys of mine or something like that, like a pit bike or, my Jeep or something like that. I enjoy that as well. But like I said, when you're on the road every weekend, it's nice to just come home and not do anything at all.
I bet. Two more questions. I'm gonna get you out of here and let you enjoy the rest of your evening. One, growing up, you might have two answers. You're 22, so you're a little bit older. A lot of them just have one answer. Me, I have two answers because I'm almost twice your age. But growing up, what was your favorite driver? The driver you idolized, and if it's not the same now, what is your current favorite driver?
Well, I always admired Richard Petty. Not only for what he did on the racetrack. Obviously, he's the king. So I mean, his accomplishments are infallible. But I always admired him for the way he interacted with his fans. He would stay there and sign autographs until the last fan got his signature, and you can tell that he's very grateful for everything that he's accomplished. That's very inspiring to me. That somebody who he is the king of NASCAR, the absolute top dog in this sport, but he still respects his fans just like they're his next door neighbor, and I've always really respected that. Nowadays, I do like Tony Stewart, especially for his ability to voice his opinion without really worry of the repercussions. I've always liked listening to him, and he's one of those people that is an awesome driver. He and Kyle Busch, from a driver's standpoint, seeing what Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch is amazing. What he does in a race car is art. So, watching those two and learning what I can from watching those two race, it's really cool to be able to watch him and sometimes be able to race with Kyle because he does race super late models when he gets a chance. So, it's fun to realize that, they came up the same way you did. So those two would probably have to be my favorite current, and Richard Petty would definitely be my favorite all-time driver.
All right, well, with the whole Kyle Busch thing, I tell you what, you got to have a lot of respect for him, whatever he accomplished last year. And I tell people all the time, I honestly believe he can do more on 3 wheels than most drivers can do on 4 wheels. He's just remarkable no matter what he gets into. Same thoughts with Tony Stewart. I was not a Tony Stewart fan back in the Joe Gibbs day, but once it was Stewart Haas, and he kind of unfiltered himself and just let everybody know exactly how he felt. It don't matter if he was NASCAR, Goodyear, Sunoco. It don't matter who you were. If he was not happy with you, he let you know about it. And definitely our thoughts and prayers are out with him. I don't know if you heard earlier today, but he got in that ATV accident on Sunday and is at the hospital with back injuries. And so hopefully he recovers in time for Daytona and everything else. Final question. Outside of winning the race, obviously that is the biggest goal for the race car, any driver. What is your goal for Daytona?
Well, like you said, the ultimate goal is to pull it in victory lane. But, but I know that I have a strong car going down there. Obviously with the time we put up on Saturday, being the second fastest time of the weekend with over 64 drivers, I think that were there. I know that I have the equipment to get it done. So definitely a top 5 would be a big goal of mine, and just to show what I can do on a super speedway, in the draft and gain respect of those other drivers. That's always been a big thing for me is gaining respect on the track. So I think respect and at least a top 5 finish would be my goals outside of pulling it in victory lane.
Well, Gus, I don't want to hold you up any longer, and I want to thank you for your time. I know everybody's time is valuable, and we definitely want to wish you luck on the 2016 season. Definitely looking forward to seeing you out there on the track on the the 13th or the 20? What do you guys? When does the ARCA Series kick off at Daytona? Is it the same weekend as the Daytona 500?
No, sir, it's the 13th. The race will be on the 13th itself, and then when we get done with the ARCA race in Daytona, we'll be going to New Smyrna Speedway for Speed Weeks and the Super Late Model, all that next week. Gotcha.
We'll definitely be keeping an eye on you. Definitely be rooting you and the Triple M team on. We got a nice relationship with your boss, man, so we definitely be pulling for you guys. Definitely looking forward to having you back on the show and get an update later in the season, see how things are going, and hopefully you get an opportunity to get some more seat time in the ARCA Series. But good luck, not only at Daytona, but not only for the 2016 season, but for your career as well. And looking forward to having you back real soon.
I sure appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to talking with you all again.
Yes, sir. You have a great night.
You do the same. Thank you.
That was Gus Dean. He will be piloting one of the Mason Mitchell Motorsports cars out there at Daytona on the 13th. Thanks to NBC Sports and NASCAR period, doing a much better job of televising all the series. We will definitely be watching it here at the 110 Nation studios. Definitely either it will be DVR so I can I'm going to DVR it anyway so I can go back and watch it a time or two. But definitely one of our favorites here at the 110 Nation, the Triple M team, with the relationship that we built with that team, and especially with Mason Mitchell. Like I said, we'll have him on next Tuesday night as well. So looking forward to that. And I know there's some announcements coming out Thursday with another mystery driver that's going to be joining the team that not allowed to be revealed to anybody to include us yet. So don't know anybody ask me because I know nothing more than anybody else. But I believe that we're working on getting that driver scheduled on the show as well. So that's going to be real cool. It's great to be able to sit here and listen and not only hear the excitement out of these young drivers, especially an opportunity like being at Daytona, but also just getting the opportunity to be able to get to know and learn more about these young drivers and get to know that, look, we talking to talked to him when he was just now getting into the ARCA Series, or we talked to this person when they were just getting into the K&N Pro Series or whatever, and it's really cool. It's kind of like with Dylan Martin. He was running the local stuff. Now this week he moved up to North Carolina. He's going to be doing some truck races. You got to test the ARCA cars. It's kind of the same thing with Hannah Newhouse. We went from her running local tracks to her being sponsored by Boise State and everything else. It's just really cool it's kind of like you feel like you're part of the team almost, even though you're not. And it's like you almost feel, especially someone my age, I'm like almost twice these drivers' ages that we had on the show. And it's almost feel like you were there watching them grow up, kind of. And even though it's only been a couple of years that we've had these a lot of these drivers returning on the show, but it's kind of that same feeling. And I know it's kind of weird, but it's just really cool because you get to see the growth, you get to see the maturity, you get to see them be successful in completing their dream. And so it's a really cool thing to have happen. And like I said, hopefully we get Gus back on a few more times this season, at least one more time this season, to see how it's progressing, and hopefully he'll turn into another one of those drivers that we get to have on multiple times as they advance in their career, and get to know them and get to hear the excitement and everything he gets to accomplish and everything else. And I know Miss Lee has got a lot of drivers between the K&N Pro, the ARCA Series, and we got a lot of people this year coming on the show that are from the Truck Series as well. I'm looking forward to this race season and getting these great athletes on the show, and looking forward to what this season is going to bring. So very, very excited about that. But make sure you guys check that out. February 13th, they're going to be running at Daytona. Make sure you guys check him out, part of the Triple M team. So make sure that you need somebody to cheer for. That's definitely somebody to cheer for and someone to get behind, as sponsor-driven sports is going to dictate how many races he gets this year, and obviously a great performance. And how not to feel confident going into Daytona when you were the second fastest out of 64 other drivers out there, and the only man that beat you was your boss. That's it. So you got to feel pretty confident about that situation for yourself. So I tell you what, it's really cool to listen to what they do in their off time. You always wonder what athletes do in their off time, and that's why I always try to make a point to kind of pry into it. And we get it back, we'll find out a little bit more about his off time, type of music, just different things. But it's really cool. I know that these athletes and even movie stars and actors or whatever, they have normal lives, but when you're a normal person, and I know I'm using this terminology very loosely, but you just assume that they just have this incredible life and do this and do that, and it is cool to kind of be able to kind of sit back and see what they really do in their off time. And then you start thinking, that's what I do in my off time. Not that I fish or hunt, and not that there's anything against it. I just have no desire to, one, get up at the crack butt of dawn. Yeah, I'm doing very good with this keeping PG stuff. But I just have no interest in waking up at the crack butt of dawn while it's still dark outside to go climb a tree to smell like deer piss in hopes that a deer crosses my path so I can shoot it, then have to drag it back to my vehicle, and then everything else. I just don't have that interest. There's no part of me that says, you know what, that sounds like a fun time. Just like fishing. I went fishing when I was younger, and I'm assuming that I would like it much better now with a cooler full of beer with me. But I don't have the patience. I'm a sports guy, not a guy that wants to throw a string and a stick in hopes that, one of those fishes just happen to come swimming by and say, you know what, that worm on the hook, it looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and take a chance that it's not going to get me out of the water, But that's not me. But then again, if you're an athlete and you get to do everything else and kind of want to get away, that it's got to be different. So, I don't know. I feel bad because my son loves to hunt and likes to shoot. I have guns. I have two guns. I have a 12 and a 22. So there's nothing against guns or having guns. And he's bugged me about fishing. As a matter of fact, he got a fishing pole for Christmas this year. He loves that stuff. And thankfully, my ex's boyfriend, that's what he's into, and he does that stuff. So, it kind of works out. I'm there for the sports aspect of everything, and he's there for the fishing, hunting aspect of it, and it kind of works out in our situation. But I do feel bad that I don't have that connection with them because I just really don't have that interest. You got to figure since, far back as I can remember, I was in T-ball and Pee-wee and youth football and baseball and bowling and then, I'm in the gym, so I'm competing in competitions and all that kind of stuff. And then it went to having, jobs that consist of 80 to 90 hours in my week. If it was just one job or a job in security or a bouncing, whatever you want to call it, I just don't. I don't care how busy my life is or how slow my life is. I don't think I'll ever have the desire to sit in a tree and hope to, and I say this jokingly because I have nothing against hunters, but hope that Bandy crosses my path so I can shoot it. But as long as you're killing deer for the meat and not just to kill it just for the antlers or the head or the sport, and it's more of, okay, if we're going to eat the meat kind of, I don't care. When people start just killing things to kill things, yeah, it's a little bit different. But like I said, I ain't got nothing against either one. I have no interest in it. I just really don't. There's a reason why I'm on Sports Talk Radio. I like to talk, and more specifically, I like to talk sports. To sit there and have to be quiet and keep to myself and not debate and all that other stuff, I don't have the patience for that. And it's probably the reason why I've never been married, and I have to say never been in a long relationship, but I've been in a 3-year and now a 2-year. But outside of them, I've never really been in a long relationship. Yeah, two females of 15 years. What the madness there. A lot of times, there's a lot of things in life I just don't have the patience for. Not that I'm always in a hurry. There's certain things that I don't have patience for, and those two are just prime examples of things that I just don't have the patience for. I don't know. Just like I don't have the patience for ESPN and the garbage they put on their TV. What was it the other day that I saw that they turned it into, God, what was it? Now I wish I could remember. Oh, video games. It's not bad enough that ESPN has the spelling bee, which should be on the Learning Channel. It's not bad enough that they play Texas Hold'em on ESPN and Fox Sports. There's the gaming channel for that. But now anyway, now they got Halo, that they have Halo competitions or whatever, and it's on ESPN. I'm like, this is not even a sport. Like, these three things are like the farthest thing away from being a sport. And with this supposed to be the worldwide sports leader, why are there's gaming channels, there's nerd channels, and there's the Learning Channel for all those things. And yes, I'm sorry, but I threw the gaming into the nerd. I have a PS3 and I have a Wii, and probably one day I'll update my gaming system. But you can ask Shorty. There's still PS3 games that I've had probably, God, when PS3 first came out, so what, 6-7 years at this point, that I got back then that are still in the wrapper. There's a couple games that are out of the wrapper, and I've probably played twice. I probably got 10 to 12 games, and outside of Shorty getting one of the Call of Duties, I think we played Monopoly a few times, and maybe I might have played one other game in the 2 years. On the PS3 and on the Wii, we played Mario Kart and I think a couple other games, more specifically with my son. But I like video games, but with a full-time job and kids and the 110 Nation, I don't allow myself to get sucked into it. We talked about this the other day, talking about possibly getting a game or two to give us something to do, but I just don't allow myself to get sucked into it, because I know once I allow myself to get sucked into a video game that consumes my time, then my attention gets drawn away from things that are more important, such as the job, such as the family, and such as the 110 Nation. And I don't allow that to happen. And, it's cool to every once in a while sit, or if they're, late at night, there ain't nothing going on, and, everybody else is consumed with whatever they got going on for us to sit and play some games. But I think there's only been one time that I can really recall that I kind of got sucked into it, and it was right after I got the PS1. I tell you how long ago it's been. And I think I got sucked into the Madden football, and I probably played about a good 3 seasons, maybe 4 seasons. And that's before, and then I got my second job and everything else, and then I just no longer had time for it. But outside of that, I don't think I've ever really been sucked into video games, and it ever been that serious for me. So It's not that I have anything against gamers, or I think it's insane. The money you're talking like $85 a game for some of these games that come out, and I know I reserved one of the games that just came out. That is a really nice thing, though. But anyway, so, but back to our original point here. It's just really cool to know what athletes do in their own time. You kind of sit there and think, wow, what, they're out there racing, so obviously they got to do extreme stuff on their off time. And it's usually not even the whole situation. But well, I also, while we had him on, we brought up the Tony Stewart thing. Tony Stewart was care flighted to the hospital, injured his back in an ATV. I believe I saw that it flipped situation. Thoughts and prayers out with Tony Stewart. It seems like every time we turn around, unfortunately for Tony Stewart, there's something going on that is unfortunate for him. Hopefully, with this being his final season, that he will be able to be back at full strength by the time that the season kicks off. I know it's asking a lot. We're only 19 days away from the Daytona 500. Without knowing the exact details and the uncertainties of what all exactly happened, hopefully Tony Stewart will be able to recover, and we'll be on the track February 21st for the running of the Daytona 500, and hopefully has a very productive season. We would love to be able to see Tony Stewart go out on top and have a very successful final season. Just kind of like Jeff Gordon and the way he went out last year. I don't expect Tony Stewart to be part of the championship weekend, as in running for a championship. Fortunately, it happened for Jeff Gordon, but to be in the chase would be something that would be nice for Tony Stewart and the fans. But to have a safe season and a season got him. So hopefully at least a productive season and get everything right for Clint Boyd to take over that ride. It's hard to believe we're only 19 days away from the Daytona 500. It's really remarkable and unbelievable. Don't forget at 10:30 we got our NHL expert joining us, Izzo, and we have a very special guest tonight joining us, Zach Boychuk, NHL player. Very, 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 very excited about having us join us tonight. As Izzo just messaged me, that's what I was reading. He had a number change, so he wanted to let me know, so I knew to pay attention to the studio for his number. But then also sent me another message saying, so pumped now. So very, very excited about the opportunity that we got tonight. And I tell you what, we're going to have Zach on, I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes. I don't want to consume a lot of this time. I told Izzo to try to keep it in that kind of time frame. But after, of course, we get done with Zach, we'll have an opportunity, Izzo and myself, to talk, and definitely want to talk to him about the All-Star. All-Star Weekend is, it was one of those things that I vowed to be more involved with the NHL throughout the season, especially now that we have an NHL segment to the show. And I made a point to DVR so I could watch the All-Star game. And then, of course, I caught all but the very end of the skills competition as I had the DVR running for the Cleveland Cavaliers game. And that was one of the things that I had to watch. I had to watch my Cleveland Cavaliers. So I missed a little bit at the very end of the skills competition. And I'm assuming since Izzo's messaged me, he's probably tuned in and listened to this right now. But I originally DVR'd it, and it only had it for 3 hours. And I talked a little bit about this last night. How aggravated I was when we got to the halftime 0-0 tie in the third and championship game of the All-Star game, and the DVR stopped because the 3 hours had hit. And I don't know why NBC only scheduled 3 hours, because it was clearly well short of that 3 hour mark. And I was rather agitated and aggravated, because I was doing the show and I could not get on Facebook because I did not want to know who won. It was a 0-0. If it had been the second game, it would have been no big deal, because it was a 9-6 game. If it had been the first game, maybe not such a big deal. It was a 3-4 game. But it was 0-0, and this is the East versus the West. And so I had to wait and flip through the channels and find out when they replayed it. And then I had to wait and watch the second game over again, and then watch the first half of the third game over again before I got back to the point where I was at, which was just barely into the second half of the third game. I think it was maybe 30 seconds. I think it was still 11 minutes left. 9.5 minutes. I think it was 10-minute quarters. But they just barely got into the second half, so we could sit there and watch that third game, and I'm glad I did. I was very, very, very excited and very much involved on the edge of my seats, and I was making some noises there towards the end, especially when you got down to the last minute or two, and they were trying to tie that game up. And I know Shorty kind of looked at me at a time or two as I'm making noises over there, but first All-Star weekend was definitely much more than what I expected, and it is not a shot at the NHL. It's kind of more a shot at the NFL and the NBA, because they put such a bad taste in your mouth. Like that garbage that they call the Pro Bowl, that was beyond ridiculous. We should not, when you have the best of the best assembled on two teams and they play each other, we should not have to go through the torture of what they call the Pro Bowl. And I understand there's the concerns of getting hurt or whatever. Well, then drop it. Then find something else. Do a skills competition yourself. Call that the Pro Bowl weekend. Have half the day consumed with skill competitions. Have moving targets and the quarterbacks hit that, and running obstacle courses for the running backs and receiving. Do something, then have it maybe a flag football game, so you don't have to risk it. At least there'll be some kind of effort. What we saw this weekend of the Pro Bowl, once again, that was pathetic. And I talked about this many times about the NBA, that what we are expecting to see February 14th for the NBA All-Star game, we're expecting to see the same thing. We normally see 150 and 160 points per team, because nobody plays. They stand around and watch each other dunk and showboat is pretty much what you're getting. The only reason I'm tuning in the first time in about 25 years is I think it's going to be bone-chilling, exciting to watch how the other players interact and pay their respect to Kobe Bryant in his final All-Star game. I think listening to the pregame show, and I'm sure they're going to have a bunch of recorded interviews with other basketball players, other NBA stars, talking about Kobe Bryant and the last All-Star game and, prior All-Star games or whatever. I think that's going to be really, really cool to listen to. And then to see, I am sure that everybody's going to come up to Kobe Bryant at some point at the beginning of the game and kind of, shake his hand or pay the respect and somehow. And then to watch how they interact with him on the court, I think that's going to be really cool. It's something that you're not going to see every year. And so I'm going to make a point to watch that, watch that All-Star game. And it'll probably be not until LeBron retires or, someone else to that significant, maybe Tim Duncan or somebody, that I'll sit there and watch it again. But, the NBA and the NFL have really put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth when you have the All-Star or Pro Bowl or whatever, how you want to, affiliate your All-Star weekend, however you want to call it. I'm glad that the MLB, it dictates the home court or the home field advantage in the World Series. I love the NASCAR. They do $1 million to win. They in the NHL, likewise, they give them a reason to be out there playing. And, of course, with this new format, the 3-on-3, oh, my God. But like I said, it wasn't a shot that I was surprised on what I saw out of the NHL. It was more of I was, expecting maybe more of the same garbage that I'm used to seeing when it comes to the NBA and when it comes to the NFL. And yes, I told you Izzo was in there. Listen, he's already in the studio. So I'm going to give him an opportunity. We're going to jump him in here real quick since he's already called in to kind of get everything out of the way before we get our guest to call in. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and pop him in here real quick. Izzo, how are you doing tonight?
I'm pretty excited, Jay. It was a pretty good weekend watching some of the skills competition and watching the All-Star game. So it wasn't a bad weekend for me, so I can't complain too much.
Let the fans know real quick how they can follow you on Twitter.
You can follow me at 110 Puckhead. Shoot me some tweets, people. We're starting to get a little bigger here. We're coming down to the important part of the season, so all you Florida fans that were kind of rooting along there for a while, even the Carolina fans, only two spots out. Let me hear from you on Twitter at 110 Puckhead, and let's tweet it out. Let's debate some hockey.
You have no idea how hard it was for me not to message you and hope that you did not message me All-Star Night, because the fact that I had DVR'd it, so I already knew I was already way behind. I didn't walk in the house till like a little bit after 7 o'clock. So I knew I was already well behind, and I didn't want anything to be given away. Then you have no idea how hard it was for me to wait and watch. I had to wait until the replay on, I don't know if it was on a different channel or the same channel, but for them to rebroadcast it because my DVR cut it off in the middle of the third game, and not be able to message you, talk anything, say anything, in hopes in return you didn't say nothing to me on what my thoughts were or anything until I got everything done. You have no idea how hard it was, not only to make sure I tried to avoid you so nothing was leaked out, but also social media and anything, because I'm the type, if I already know who won, 9 out of 10 times I am not going to watch the rest of it because there's no point at that point. And regardless of what it is now, it ends up being a once-in-a-lifetime game, and I'll go back and catch what was so big about that game. But 9 out of 10 times, if I would have known it ended up 1-0, I probably wouldn't have sat there and watched the rest of it because I already knew the end result. So you have no clue how hard it was for me to make sure I avoided everything at all costs. It didn't matter if it was on Yahoo Sports because I didn't want to see the score pop up there. If it was social media, if it was messages, you just have no clue how difficult it was.
Oh, it was definitely different. That's for sure. So I was thoroughly impressed, even with the skills competition. Shea Weber trying to get Zdeno Chara's record coming close. It being the All-Star game being in Nashville, a lot of guys like playing in Nashville. The scene and the town's really nice. A lot of guys are country music fans, so they enjoy going there. As we saw in the skills competition, a lot of the guys we're having fun with antics. PK Subban dressing up as Yager for the shootout competition was kind of funny, especially with the old school Jaffa helmet and the visor and everything like that. It was pretty cool to watch. Brent Burns having a moment out there with his kids and everything like that, and Joe Pavelski, that was really cool in the shootout and everything like that. And then you move along to the All-Star game, Jay. The All-Star game was I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought we could have seen a little bit more goals, but I think overall the show that we got was pretty interesting. It's a lot different when it's 3-on-3, as we all saw. There are a lot of opportunities back and forth and everything.
And that's where me and you were different, though, because the first game was great. The second game, that 9-6, that made me feel more like a NFL Pro Bowl or an NBA All-Star game where it was just kind of people out there and the scores just started racking up. But that third segment, that 1-0, to me, that it couldn't have gotten no better.
No, I agree with you on that one, Jay. That third period was pretty entertaining. The shutout going to John Gibson there. Pittsburgh native boy, has done very well for Anaheim so far in net. Kind of had a weak skills competition, I think that was just nerves. But he came in and he made one heck of a toe save there at the one point in the game. It could have made it, 6-5. turn around, they go down and score. It makes it 7-5. So you save your team. So it was an interesting third period. So I was thoroughly enjoyed with that. It had me on the edge of the couch, Jay.
Me too. And for me to have my first NHL All-Star weekend, I couldn't have asked for any more, I guess, for my first All-Star weekend. And like I said, it wasn't a shot at the NHL when we talk about All-Star. When you grew up watching the NFL and the NBA and their All-Star games and learned quickly that you're not getting the best performance out of the best players, it kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth. So it takes you a while to kind of open up to all the rest of the sports. It took me a while to want to sit to watch the NASCAR All-Star weekend and then the Major League Baseball and their All-Star. But I'm glad that we started adding this implicating this part of the show into our weekly routine, because then it got me to sit on that couch and it got me to want to be involved and check out the All-Star and the skills competition. And I'm 100% glad that I took that opportunity and sat there this weekend and watched that. We got our guest in the studio. We got Zach Boychuk joining us tonight. Very excited about having him join us tonight. Get his thoughts on everything hockey, and to include this new format that he did this weekend. So without any further delay, let's get him on the show. How are you doing tonight, Zach?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about you guys?
I am doing well. Very glad to have you on the show. I'm going to do this like I do everybody else real quick, and then I'm going to let Izzo take over. He is our NHL guy. Before we jump into this, I want to give you an opportunity to let people know how to follow you, anything you want to put out there, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything you have. Any team websites, personal websites, anything you want to promote or anything, charity, anything you got going on, put that out there real quick. That way we get that out of the way, and then I'll let you guys take over.
All right, yeah, that sounds good. Basically just my Twitter and my Instagram are the main thing, and it's at Zach Boychuk for both of them. And I think if you look throughout my page, you can see some things that I promote and things that I'm a big fan of. So check it out.
All righty, Zach. This is Izzo, man. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, man. I don't know if Jay's informed you, but I'm a big hockey guy. I've been playing for a long time. I love the game. I love the sport. And now that I'm from the Pittsburgh area, moving down to the Carolina area, trying to cover the Checkers and the Fire Ants and the Hurricanes, trying to keep up on everything and give the local people around here, some knowledge about hockey. Because, like I said, I live for this sport. I love this sport. My first question for you is this new 3-on-3 overtime. I wanted to get your opinion on it. As me personally, growing up being a goaltender, I could imagine it was, it's a nightmare for goaltenders. I want to know from your aspect, you playing on the wing, how does it change and affect your game in overtime?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I think, the shootouts are starting to get a little bit stale. It gets to a point where, you want to see it happen and result in a goal. And with 3-on-3, there's tons of chances, and you still get breakaways that's similar to a shootout too. So I think it's a great format that they moved to, and it definitely pads some of the guys' stats there too, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've paying attention to around the league with the 3-on-3 teams. Certain teams I feel have certain aspects of their roster that really favor them. Do you feel that these top heavy scoring lines in overtime, do you feel they have an advantage, or do you feel that everybody can just make a play at any point in time and change the outcome of a game?
Yeah, I think it really could go either way. I think a lot of coaches have been doing different things, whether it's put out 2 defensemen and 1 forward, or put out 3 forwards, or whatever. So obviously you're going to need a good goaltender to do well in the 3-on-3. But yeah, at any point, you could have a grinding defenseman that's out there to stop the puck from going in your net, and he could be coming in on a 2-on-1 and get a pass for an empty net. So it makes it pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think that's something the fans have really kind of took on to this past season. Another question for you, since this is, really a big major change in the All-Star game. How do you feel about the 3-on-3 aspect? The two divisions playing in one period and the other two divisions in the other conference playing in the next period, and then the winner playing the third period. How do you feel? Do you think that's really just kind of the NHL trying to make it more exciting, make it more appealing? Because you're close to age. I mean, you remember the All-Star games of the mid-'90s with, Yager in his prime, Peter Bondra, and, Stevie Yzerman and all those guys, just racking up goals against Patrick Waugh and, Marty Brodeur and, Ed Belfour. Do you feel that we're going to see a lot more offense in this All-Star game, or do you feel like it's going to be a lot tighter, maybe until the third period, what we saw this past Sunday?
I'd love the way that it went this year. I think you got a little mix of some offense, and then when the guys really buckled down in that final period, you got some defense too. But there wasn't many goals scored in that final period, but there was still lots of chances and lots of excitement. And it was one of the first All-Star games that I'd watched in a long time, and it was mostly just to watch John Scott and the new format with the divisions and stuff like that. And from what I hear, the fans really loved it.
Yeah, how about that John Scott guy? Who knew he could come out and score 2 goals? That was pretty amazing to see. Good for him. I'm happy for him. I'm really hoping that this kind of helps him out in his career. He's definitely a tough guy. Definitely somebody that you'd probably want to be teammates with. Speaking of teammates, how cool was it to see your teammate Justin Falk in the All-Star skills competition? How do you think he fared in that this past Saturday?
Well, I thought he did really well. I think he's a guy who's a 2-time All-Star now, and kind of a guy that is a really great defenseman in the league that could be up for the Norris. So for him to go in and take part in the All-Star game again, and I think he did the puck control relay. He looked pretty good. He didn't lose any edges or fall down, so that was good to see. And then I would have liked to see him in the hardest shot, but he wasn't. I know he's definitely got a cannon, but I think he did pretty well in the game as well.
Yeah, that is something I do agree with you. I would like to have seen him in the hardest shot too. Watching him play now, since I'm in the local area, that he's got some hands, he's got some legs, and he definitely has the size. And you're right, he is a point getter from the back end, which I think is definitely helping Carolina right now, who are 2 spots out. Feel that they got a decent shot of making the playoffs, and if you do, what do you think? What do you think they have to really fix and change to keep this momentum going on this 2-game win streak right now?
Yeah, I think they definitely have a good chance. I think early on, a lot of people were counting them out and not giving them a chance. But in the other aspect of it, I think they were getting on the wrong side of a few games, and they were maybe underachieving a little bit. So it was definitely a tough start to the season, and now that they just kept pushing through it, and now I think they're only 1 point out of the playoffs. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens with Eric and Cam and a bunch of the guys going into unrestricted at the deadline. So got to see what happens there, and hopefully just keep it going so that they can make it.
Now, I kind of want to focus on you right now. I do believe that I see that you are hurt right now, but for you playing for Charlotte, 9 goals and 13 assists for 22 points so far this year, that's pretty. I like those numbers. Those are pretty solid numbers. I've watched you play here for a while. I've actually seen you play when you were up in Pittsburgh there for a little bit. I've been somewhat of a big fan of yours, actually. I like the way you play and everything. How do you feel your success has been coming to you so far this season with the Checkers?
Well, I think I've learned a lot. It's kind of a bit of a different season for me with the Checkers. We have a new coach for the first time, so it took a little bit of a while for our team to adjust to that, and now I think we're playing probably the best hockey that we've ever played in Charlotte, and for me personally, I feel like I'm playing the best that I've ever played. So it's exciting that my career is kind of starting to turn around, and I'm starting to learn a few different things, and hopefully I get another shot at the NHL soon.
Yeah, we would definitely like to see that. Like I said, I followed your even when you were drafted by the Hurricanes. That little time you spent in Pittsburgh, I was actually a big fan of yours watching you in Pittsburgh. I got one final question for you, Mr. Boychuk, and this is kind of a question that my roommate wanted to ask you. What is your perfect Sunday, sir? What is your perfect Sunday?
Perfect Sunday is probably just relaxing, taking a few naps in bed, probably sleeping in, getting some nice brunch, and then probably watch a little bit of football. And if it was the summertime, I'd like to definitely be out on the golf course. But yeah, definitely hanging out with the girlfriend and just relaxing.
That is awesome, sir. That is awesome. Zach, I really appreciate this, dude. This is a monumental thing for me. You were my first NHL player I've ever interviewed. I think Jay has a question that he wants to ask you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jay. Mr. Boychuk, I thank you very much, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I got one question real quick, and this is just kind of, when they asked about the perfect Sunday, is what made me think about it. And you talked about the NFL, and we heard earlier in the week, talking about the NFL, or as a matter of fact, probably last week, Richard Sherman says he wasn't watching the Super Bowl because he wasn't in it, that he's an athlete, not a fan. And so my question to you, because I'm curious now how other athletes are when it comes to, such as the NHL Stanley Cup. When you're not involved, outside of watching game film, obviously getting yourself prepared for the upcoming opponents, but say, the NHL, the Stanley Cup and all that, are you a fan and do you watch that, or are you more like Richard Sherman and you are a player, an athlete, and you don't take the time to kind of watch that kind of stuff?
I would say I'd like to watch, especially come playoff time, watching hockey games. And even during the regular season, I wouldn't watch just a random game on a Wednesday night, but I definitely like to watch my friends who are in the game, or if I'm not playing with the Hurricanes, and I'll watch the Hurricanes game once in a while. Now, obviously not every game, but I try and catch as many as I can for sure.
Not Wednesday night. That's rivalry Wednesday. That's supposed to be the big night to watch.
I actually do watch quite a few Wednesday night rivalries. My buddies would make fun of me for that, for sure.
I was just curious, because it really caught me off guard when I heard Richard Sherman say that he ain't watching the Super Bowl. He's not a fan. He's a player, or an athlete, I guess, better terminology. So I was just curious if other athletes had the same, thought process, that they weren't watching it, if they weren't participating in it. And I, if I love that sport well enough to be playing it, I just couldn't imagine not watching at least the biggest game of the year. So I was just curious. Yeah. But I definitely want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I definitely want to wish you good luck on the rest of the season. And hopefully we will see you on the ice with the Hurricanes here very soon, or any other team is for that much, however your career goes from this point. And definitely we'll be keeping our eye on you, and I know Izzo obviously definitely will be. And we'd love to have you back on sometime here in the near future and get an update on how things are going for you, and you enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. We'll definitely be back on.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it, Zach.
There we go. That was Zach Boychuk. See what that was. Yeah, definitely informative there. I definitely like that. I didn't lose you, did I, Izzo? Oh,
no, I'm still here.
Okay, I thought I dropped the wrong. I thought I dropped the wrong phone. Something else I want to talk about. We ran out of time before he jumped on here. I seen that Washington and Florida, two of the hottest teams going into the All-Star break. faced off today. And I think that we got our answer on how real this aging Florida team is with the win over one of the hottest teams in the NHL, the Washington Capitals. What's your thoughts on this game, and did it end up being what you thought it was going to be?
Actually, no, I really didn't. I know at one point I looked, it was 3-0 and everything like that. So it was, this aging team. What can I say about them? I mean, this was a hard-fought game on one side. Apparently, the Capitals dropping it 5-2. Yager putting up points, Andrei Barkov putting up another point. Jonathan Huberdeau, he's putting up points. I mean, this is just insane what's going on in Florida right now. They're starting to believe, and they're starting to roll with it right now. So it's, I thought Washington was going to continue on, but hey, look, now they're at 9 losses. I mean, but they still haven't hit double digits, and they're, with this win tonight, that puts Florida up at 65 points, and Washington's still at 73 right now, so it's still a long haul, but it's a pretty impressive win and a pretty dominant win for the Florida Panthers tonight, Jay.
And speaking of Yager, I mean, it was almost like it was the first time he was out there. Like he was a big kid out there enjoying himself in the All-Star, and it makes you wonder how much of that carried over. Here we are halfway through the season, and I know at his age that's got to be catching up at some point, and it makes you wonder after this weekend if he just kind of found this fountain of youth, because it seemed like he enjoyed this weekend, just truly, honestly enjoyed it. And obviously coming out here and putting this win on the Washington Capitals, obviously it continued over. And it's just very impressive to see him out there. And it's like he just found this new fountain of youth there in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to turn 44 here next week. I mean, he had an assist tonight, so that he's still putting up points and everything. And he's bringing the mullet back, so maybe once you hit your 40s, you got to grow a mullet or something. I don't know, Jay, but he's tearing it up right now. He's playing, I mean, it's not the Jaromir Jagr numbers of, the early to mid 90s and everything. The decade of the 90s was pretty much Jagr's, lead or thing of terror, reign of terror or whatever. But I mean, he's still putting up goals. He's still putting up assists. The young guys are producing, and Barkov and Huberdeau. Roberto Luongo's playing like himself and everything. I mean, you still have Jussi Jokinen, who's an aging star too, but a good veteran guy. Very good in shootouts, excellent playmaker. Still got some legs left in him. So, I mean, but you look at Yager still, he still has it. It's he's not fourth in the record books for nothing for scoring. I mean, he's just leading that Florida team in the locker room. They've become a dangerous team too. So they're definitely up there in the power rankings. I can tell you that, along with Washington. So it's pretty much the Florida and Washington show right now. Florida just made headlines, and who's the better team as of tonight. So it was a good game to watch. I'm definitely going to be peeking at some of the highlights to pick out things that I see that, that Washington really have that tonight. So, hey, man, that was a pretty good game for Florida coming off a break. So that rest really did the old man some good. So good show in Florida tonight, Jay.
Yeah, and I see my Columbus has continued the second half so far this season. Kick off the second half of the season in the way they've pretty much wrapped up the whole first half. Right now we're losing 2-1 to Edmond. I tell you what, Saad played pretty decently in the All-Star break, but this team's just not playing up to the performance that I need my Columbus Blue Jackets to play at, so we can at least be in some kind of conversation other than being the worst team in our division.
Well, at the end of the second, it is 4-1 Edmonton right now. It's not looking good for the Blue Jackets right now. I feel that horrible start had really did a lot more damage than what we see. We all know John Tortorella traded Ryan Johansson for Seth Jones a couple weeks ago. That was a big trade and everything like that. So, they're trying to John Tortorella is trying to reshape the outlook of this team right now, and Brendan Saad has definitely been worth all the penny and everything, and watching him play in the All-Star game with the other Pittsburgh boys, Brendan Saad being from the Pittsburgh area, being from good old Berg, played alongside with Malkin and Letang on the All-Star game, and that line actually produced quite a few points there for the Atlantic Division. But Blue Jackets are definitely trying to reshape. The trade deadline is coming up here a couple weeks, so we're going to be seeing some moves. Guys like Zach said, hopefully Eric Stahl and Cam Ward will remain in Carolina, but that seems to be not the case right now unless they turn it around or try and get some sort of value for Eric Stahl to boost the roster right now. So it's definitely going to be a long haul for the Blue Jackets there, Jay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel the same way.
Yeah, but one thing, just my first half report card for the East and West. Definitely on the A list, it definitely has to be Washington and Florida. They're definitely the top two teams in the East right now. The Rangers are also up there. They've done pretty well. The Coyotes seem to have, in the West, have seemed to build a good team. I'm looking for them to kind of make a jump maybe this second half of the year. But I definitely have to say the Chicago Blackhawks and the LA Kings really are on the A list right now, with the Kings' acquisitions of Vinny LeCavalier and Luke Shen from the Flyers a couple weeks ago. In Chicago, hey, Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane is leading the league in points, goals. He's doing it all right now. So he is definitely in the running for the Art Ross and MVP of the league this year. So teams I'm really not impressed with so far in this first half. Anaheim, Ryan Getzlaf is not having the particular season that he needs to be having. Corey Perry had that little slump at the beginning of the season. The only good thing coming out of there right now is the goaltending and John Gibson and Anders Friedman right now. These guys are holding the boat right and steady for right now, but Getzlaf and Perry have to get it going. Some other bad teams. I wouldn't have to say the Canadians. Man, they've just nosedived since the injury to Carey Price, and still really no timetable for his return. And the Ben Scrivens trade just hasn't really been what it needs to be so far in this early part of since he was acquired and everything like that. So Canadians are definitely dropping quickly. They're not looking too hot right now. Not even in the playoff looks right now, Jay. So they need Carey Price back. Apparently Carey Price is the support beam for this team right now, and Matt Pacioretty and Thomas Plekanec and PK Subban and Markov, all these guys got to start really trying to churn out goals and play solid 5-on-5 hockey and stay out of the box. And keep their power play on the rink. And just try and make something happen. So that's it's been a weird season, especially in the East. No one really expected Washington coming out of the gate like they did. Boston has been somewhat of a letdown so far this year. Zdeno Chara not being an All-Star, which was something very weird. He's an aging guy, carries a big cap hit, and I think they're going to be trying to move him before the trade deadline and everything like that. Having some health issues and everything like that. The Devils are another team that were expected to try and make a little bit noise. Haven't really panned out so far this year. It's been a funky. It's been a year of surprises, Jay. Really. If we look at the standings right now, they've just been going crazy. Teams flip-flopping in the Central Division in the West, between Chicago, it was Minnesota, and Dallas was up in there. Detroit's pushing for another season in the playoffs, which I think would make it 25 straight years going into the playoffs. Hopefully they can turn it around. and not have an early exit. So, Pittsburgh's starting to play decent hockey. Sidney Crosby had a hat trick tonight against the Senators and a 6-5 win. So Pittsburgh has started seemingly playing a little bit better offense and playing better penalty killing, being 7th in the league in the penalty kill right now. The new head coach, Mike Sullivan, has definitely made special teams a priority in the Penguins locker room right now. So other teams, Carolina is expected to make some sort of roster moves here real quick, but they are only 2 spots out of a playoff spot in the wild card right now. So they've been flying under the radar. They've got a 2-game win streak going on right now. They're going to take on Calgary tomorrow night. And hopefully they can keep this win streak going. And hopefully they can, become players in the for a playoff push and add to their roster. Or, if they don't, like we've heard rumors of Eric Stahl and Cam Ward being on the trade block for Carolina. So it's definitely going to be an interesting couple of weeks, Jay. Trade deadline's coming up here soon. We're going to be seeing some more gritty, competitive hockey coming down the stretch here now that we're in the second part of the season and everything like that. So buckle up. We're going to see some crazy playoff push runs going on in here. We're going to see a lot of really close games here coming down to the dog days of the playoffs and everything, like playoff race and everything like that. So it's definitely going to be a season to remember, definitely, with the new format of 3-on-3 in the All-Star format. Now we got the Stadium Series games coming up here pretty soon. So a lot of exciting things coming on in the next couple of weeks for the NHL, Jay.
Definitely sounds exciting. Definitely looking forward to the second half of this season. Definitely looking tomorrow night for Rivalry Wednesday. I'll definitely be tuning in that tonight. Definitely watching the All-Star game. I was already sold, but it definitely had me on the edge of the seat this last weekend, and definitely Shorty and I discussed watching the game. I looked over her and I said, I think this is something I could really get into watching on a regular basis. And she's like, I didn't tell you to change it. She goes, I'm into this just as much. So I think that the NHL will be something that is more of a permanent fixture on a week-to-week basis in the 110 studio, or the 110 house anyway, especially after this last weekend.
Yeah, Jay, like I said, man, congratulations to John Scott. What a story for him. Grinder, big enforcer guy, comes out and scores 2 goals in the All-Star game. Definitely happy for him. Definitely glad to see Yager that was back into the All-Star game. Glad to see that his mullet is coming on nicely, that he plans to bring back. So that's going to be a treat to see the old Yager mullet. And hopefully he'll bring back the salute after every goal he scores, too. So it was a good night of hockey. It was a good night on the show tonight. I'd like to thank Zach again for joining us and everything. Zach, you are my first pro player that I viewed. And, dude, it was awesome. It was everything I could imagine. So good luck to you, man. Hope we get to see you up in the NHL, up on the bench and everything, and getting out there and skating your heart out for the Hurricanes, brother. So I would just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And so, as always, it's been an honor and it's been a privilege. Definitely looking forward to having you back on Tuesday night. Maybe we can pull another trick out of our hat, and we can make something like this happen again next week or here real soon again. But definitely had fun tonight, and I'll be talking to you obviously later on, but definitely looking forward to having you back here next Tuesday night.
Definitely looking forward to it, Jay. You have a good night too, sir.
Yep, thank you. That was. I tell you what. The only way this show could have been any better or perfect is if we wouldn't have had a miscommunication. We actually had somebody lined up to come on at 10 o'clock as well, and I had no idea. I happened to be feeding through the Twitter. As a matter of fact, I would have jumped on the Twitter earlier when Gus Dean was tweeting out about coming on the show. I would have caught this, and I wouldn't have missed. And I saw someone in the studio, but I know Miss Lee had a new number or a number that I never pay attention to, because Miss Lee normally doesn't call in to listen to the show. Normally she clicks on the link and listens to it just like everybody else. But with stuff going on with her internet, she called in yesterday, and it was somewhat of a similar area code. But now thinking about it, I think two of the numbers were switched around. I think she called from one area code, and it started off the same, but the two numbers were switched now that I thought about it. But we were supposed to have Rhett Jones Racing on as well tonight, and it really would have made this Tuesday night to be a great night, and to not only have Gus Dean, but have Rhett Jones Racing on, and follow that up with Zach Boychuk. But we had a miscommunication at our end. She relayed the message of Gus coming on, and relayed the message of the other drivers that we got scheduled throughout the week and next week. But somehow we miscommunicated that. So I want to apologize to everybody that tuned in hopes to hear from Rhett Jones Racing. We're already in the works of getting that rescheduled and getting them on the show. So we do want to apologize for those that tuned in and was expecting to hear from Rhett Jones Racing. Also want to apologize to that organization as well. That was a screw up at our end, and we try not to, and that's why we do the things the way we do, so we don't have those things happen. And I just think everything going on, the excitement of everything going on tonight, just communication, we dropped the ball on that, and so I want to apologize, like I said, to the fans that was expecting to hear, those that tuned in to hear that specific part of the show, and to the team and the organization that is something that I take personal, and Miss Lee takes personal. She prides what she does for the 110 Nation, and we simply dropped the ball at our end, and we do want to apologize for that. But we will get that rescheduled, and we will get them on the show very, very soon, and we'll get that taken care of. But outside of that, I tell you what, that it was about as perfect as it gets for a Tuesday night for us, and very excited about what went on tonight, and very excited to see how the rest of this week plays out for us. So I got to thank Gus for coming on, and wish him the best of luck at Daytona in the 2016 season. Got to, of course, thank our NHL expert, Izzo, for not only joining us, but taking care of the interview with Zach Boychuk. And, of course, we got to thank him once again as well. Very, very excited about having everybody on tonight. And make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Also, make sure you hit us up on Facebook, my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports 110 Nation, fan page 110 Nation Sports. Check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. Check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Don't forget, we got the 110 Nation Morning Show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. We got the 110 Nation Sports Show Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Sunday night, 7 o'clock, happy hour garage. We got a special edition Saturday at noon. They had 2 shows last week, so we had to get that in. So make sure you guys check that out. And, of course, we got the Dirt Talk Hour, 9 o'clock Sunday night, Eastern Standard Time, of course. Make sure you guys check that out. Tomorrow morning, be back at this again. You guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you guys then.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110 Nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
Hi, you've reached Burger King. To leave a message, press 1.
Burger King? Listen, I'm a bit of an idea guy. Like croutons, I thought of that. I got a great idea to make your burgers better. 2 words, buttery sauce. Because that makes everything taste better. You with me?
Sounds good. It's almost as good as the new extra-long buttery cheeseburger from Burger King. 2 beef patties topped with veggies and a rich buttery sauce on a toasted bun. Now just 2 for $5. Or mix and match with the Flame Grilled Chicken Burger, part of the 2 for $5 deal. The new extra-long buttery cheeseburger, only at Burger King. Limited time only. Price and participation vary.